Hi guys, Lisa here with Sam.
Hi.
As promised, what I've seen a lot in the group is you guys saying things like, but my partner thinks that I'm crazy for even thinking that I can make passive income, or my partner doesn't believe in sort of doing courses or learning these kind of things. And sometimes it's not even your partner, it's your friends and your family. And I totally get that, having been in that position, but also having kind of coached as many people as I have in all these different ways, whether it's one-to-one in courses or in my mastermind and that kind of thing. I have spoken to many husbands. One of the things I don't work one-to-one with people now, but when I used to work one-to-one with people, what I used to say is, no, I totally understand that your husband will want to know what it's all about. Why don't you get him on? And I'd have conversations with people's husbands. Sometimes if I was speaking to the husband to work with him, it would be the wife actually that would be like, oh, I don't believe in any of this stuff. And so I'd then have conversations with the wife as well, and do it that way. Because the truth of the matter is, your partners are doing this, are, not as into it for a few reasons. And the most likely reason, yes, sometimes it's because they're worried that you will overtake them and all of these kind of things. But honestly, generally, it's not malicious. It's because that they care about you. And so they worry about a few different things. One of the things that they worry about is that you might get conned, because let's face it, there are a lot of con artists online. So they should be worried about that. I think that's a good thing, because it makes people do their due diligence a bit more and check people out a bit more to see if they're sort of correct. The second thing is they don't want you to feel disappointed if you go into something and it doesn't work out how you think it should. And the third is they don't want you to fail. So these are really good, valid reasons. It seems that these days the only way to see any kind of comments on Facebook is to keep playing around with the screen and then they just appear. Love your humour in the email, Sam. Sam wrote my email this week for my Friday email because I was launching. So Sam got to have a go at actually coming on, and he got many more responses than I ever get, which I am quite annoyed about, but hey, we'll let it go. So yeah, I don't want you to think that, I know people say, oh, my husband or wife or family or mum has mindset issues, money mindset issues, and they don't believe that this can work for me. Often it isn't. Sometimes it's a money mindset issue, but often it's just caring about you. They just care about you, and that's why. So I wanted to have a frank discussion on the kind of things that you can do to make things easier for yourself, because I totally agree. It's very difficult when you have somebody in your life that thinks a bit negatively about something you're going into, because what we know is that when you go into something, whether it's the one-to-many program, whether it's trying to make passive income by yourself, whether it's anything that you're trying to do, if you don't go into it excited and with the expectation that it's going to work, it can be really hard to make it work, because that's your mindset. So if somebody else is there telling you it's not going to work, that can have a real impact on you. So I wanted to talk to Sam about that today. It's going to be hard to do a Q&A with you guys if we can't see the questions. Maybe we use your phone to see the questions. Yeah, go and grab it, because it's just the novelty. You'll be favourite again. Let's hope so. Let's hope I'll be back to being favourite again. But so what I wanted to do is interview Sam, because the reality of it is, when I first started, I wanted to do a particular coaching program. And I said to Sam, we didn't have any money, remember? We were like, it's in Race to Recurring Revenue. We didn't have any money when I first started on this journey 4 years ago. We had very little money. We were bringing up twins. Sam was the breadwinner. He was working and was probably on a 50,000 a year. Yeah. And I was earning a lot less than that, more in the sort of 20 to 30 range. And so for me to then say, well, actually, I'm going to embark on this new thing and start this new thing, you can see how, Sam would be worried about that. And I think you actually said, when I said to you, I'm going to do this coaching course because I think that it would be really good for me. What did you think?
You look at that and I'll just chat for a minute. I'm a bloke of a generation, right? And so my answer was like, well, I bet Alan Sugar didn't have a coach. I bet Richard Branson didn't have a coach. That's all I could say. I just didn't. I didn't understand it. I didn't see why you needed more than hard work, application, graft, putting in all the hours. I just didn't know there was any other way than that. And I suppose I had a bit of a light bulb moment when I equated it to a coach at the gym, a personal trainer. Now, if you want to get fit, you can go to the gym, but you can't just go once a week with this personal trainer. You have to listen to what they say. You have to take away what they've told you. You have to implement that at home on your own, and then come back when you meet that trainer again in a week. Then you come back and you've started to move along and progress in the way they've told you to move along. Yeah. And that's what I know. That's what I found when you started to talk to a good coach, because you had a couple of...
I had some really bad coaches. Let's not pretend that every coach I did my due diligence on and checked them out properly and made sure they had good testimonials, because I didn't.
Yeah, so that was kind of the transformative piece for me, was when I equated it to something I understood. I understood sport, I understood, that kind of thing. And I didn't understand business. I still don't really, if I'm honest with you. But I know a little bit more. I've learned sort of by this weird osmosis where stuff sort of seeps into me without me realising it. But yeah, it was a real eye opener at the beginning, and it was something.
Were you worried about me, or were you more worried about the money I was putting into it?
I'm quite cautious.
He has money mindset
with
issues,
money.
even now.
Even before I knew what money mindset was, I had money mindset issues, and I was worried about you, but I always feel you can take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So that's not quite the worry, because overall you're very capable of doing that. I'm not saying that things don't get to you, because they do, and I see that more than anyone. But I guess it was more. It was a gamble at the time. We didn't have hardly much money at the time. The boys were very young. We were, it wasn't like we set out, you did this as like a hobby. Like I was earning 500 grand a year and went, there you go.
No, every bit of money meant something to us then. So I knew that if I was going to be spending this money to go into a course, it had to be non-negotiable that I made it back. It wasn't like we could have afforded to lose it. I was about 30 grand in debt. Yeah. There was no way that could happen. So I had to know. But that also meant I needed Sam's support, because I think it's really hard without that support. And actually, I came to you, didn't I, and said, look, I'm going to do it. I need to do it. And I know that you've got a certain opinion on things, and I know you're worried about money. But for the purpose of this, I need you not to tell me that, and to just be supportive on it, because I think it would have affected me more if you were constantly sort of believing that it wouldn't work.
Oh, I've changed massively. I haven't 100% changed, as you know. And I know I frustrate you sometimes still, because... when you invest heavily in something, I still tend to look at, well, what if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
And you always, got that entrepreneurial mindset, which is, well, I'm never going to progress, I'm never going to learn, I'm never going to grow if I don't take that risk and invest. But I see some investments which are no-brainers, and others, obviously, I don't have that business acumen that you have, so I don't see the way they're going to affect you and help you grow.
Because you've got to remember that I might have started on something that's only 5,000, or it seems like only now £5,000, but then that was huge for me to spend £5,000. Now when I invest in people, I'm spending upwards of 35,000 to 50,000. It's still got that face.
I've got to tell you, I try very hard to get away from it, and I'm so respectful to Lisa for what she does, until... no matter what success Lisa's had, we've had, until a few months ago, I would head straight to the sale rail in the trainer shop. It was just ingrained in me to do that.
This is while I was earning 3 million a year.
Yeah.
He still would feel like he had to go to the sale. I think money mindset takes time though, and because it's happened fast to us, it does take time to catch up and know that you can spend money, and you still always have a little bit. You have to work on your money mindset all the time, because I still have it where sometimes I think, but because of where I came from, that money might disappear in some way. Like, you still do think like that. You have to work on it all the time and realise that actually money is just energy, and it flows. And if you spend money on things that are going to help you make more money, that's a good thing.
That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing I've learned, is not to be scared of spending money on the things that are going to help you and improve you and develop you. And that might only be 30 quid a month. It might be a hell of a lot more, but I think that's massively important. And I think for anyone who's taken that step into being an entrepreneur, that's probably the biggest lesson to take on board.
You have to eventually take some risk and put skin in the game, because if you don't put skin in the game, I always say this, people that pay attention, and it's really true. If you've paid, you've put skin in the game, and you're going to try much harder to make it work, especially if that skin in the game doesn't come easily to you. You know that first 5,000 I spent wasn't easy for me to lose, so I had to make it work. I wanted to tell you another story about a friend of ours, Dan. So we have a friend, and actually she is one of the coaches. She's one of the support coaches in One to Many. She's called Shelley, and maybe she's on here actually. Shelley's husband, Dan, was a bit like Sam was when he first, when I first started talking about this kind of thing, like wanting to spend money. So when Shelley first started working with me, Dan was not happy about this. And actually I met him at an event, and the first thing he said to me was this, which I now find funny, but at the time I didn't. He came up to us, and you were there, weren't you?
Yeah.
And he said, oh, you're Lisa. You're the name on my wife's bank account statements. Which is a bit like, oh, crikey, because she'd only just started working with me. And so to him, all he could see is the money going out. Fast forward a year or so, and Shelley is making well over 6 figures. She's doing amazingly well. And I think Dan this year is part of this challenge. He's coming to see how he can now make passive income, and we're now good friends. But sometimes I think for women, they can go on some intuition that they know they can make it. They know they can do it. And they have an intuition about people who can help them. Like some of you have told me I can feel your energy and things like that. Like I know that you're down to earth and you can help me, and I completely trust. Whereas with men, they need to see facts and figures before they start, they want to see it. And I think that that's not a bad thing in some ways.
I think there's a really healthy balance to be had between the two. I really do. I think it might sound a bit old school, but I think trusting your gut sometimes you have to. And in our relationship, I'm probably more successful in figuring out the people who
you're much better
are the real
intuitively
deal
than
than you are. But also, you do need to see facts and figures. You have to do your due diligence. There's too many charlatans out there. There really are. And we've met so many. And I sit here fuming sometimes, knowing that Lisa's on it and she can deal with it. But this kind of old school husband in me wants to, come out and play and isn't allowed to. But I don't need to. But I guess my point is, go with your gut, but have a healthy balance of that gut feeling with actual tangible evidence.
And I think that's why I put so much out there. Like lots of people have a go at me for talking about money, and for actually I show my bank statements online, I show my Stripe account online, and lots of people are like, God, that's disgusting. But I think the reason that I really do it is because there's so many people out there lying about how much money they're making that I feel like the cynic in me wants to prove to people I'm not, because I don't want to be one of those people. And I think the reason I put so many testimonials out there, like I put hundreds of testimonials out, and I know that's too many. I know, lots of people say, well, that's too many. We don't need to see that all of these people have made money from your course. But the more I put out there, the more I feel like if I was trying to do my due diligence and I was looking for like proof to show my partner, the thing I would show is those testimonials, those people that are actually already making the money, because I know that that's something that would make you feel better. For me, it might not do as much.
Especially when it was, for me, not so much now, but at the time, this whole... we steer away from passive income a little bit. Recurring revenue was still a little bit of I didn't really understand what it meant. I mean, it was interesting when we got into it because there's plenty of very old school ways of making money that are passive income. But especially with that, because people are slightly suspicious of it, it can be tarred with a not very ethical brush. Yeah. And to have people, real people, hundreds of people that I've met, genuine people coming in and seeing this sort of life change, is massively rewarding. And I think that should be shared.
But I think the whole passive income thing is because people pretend that you don't have to do any work. And I think I'm quite upfront about you're going to have to do a lot of work. As I'm showing you this week, there is some work to be done. It is not just going to like magic out of the sky. And unfortunately, it's still called passive income. And I often wish it wasn't called that. It's called leveraged income or something that isn't quite so misleading, because it's not, it becomes passive, but it's not passive at the beginning. You're doing work to build your course and your membership and that kind of thing. But yeah, hopefully this has helped. If you have any questions for us, we're very, you should know by now, I'm like an open book, and Sam is the same. We're very open about how we've got here. Sam was able to leave his 9-to-5 job in the first year of my business because it did so well. So Sam was able to leave and come and work for me for a bit. And that's how Sam's got a business now. He's also the house husband. So he like looks after the kids and sorts out the house and all that kind of stuff. But he has a business copywriting. And that came because he was doing all the copy for my website and for my sales pages and that kind of thing. And so then people started saying, who's doing your wording? And I'm like, well, my husband is. And that's when people started to say, well, can I use him? And Sam started his own business, Sam Johnson Copy, from there. So, it has been fast. It's only been 4 years that we've got here. But in that time, like, Sam's had to leave his job and work for me, and our lifestyle has completely changed. We've got more time to spend with our kids and to go on holidays and do lovely things like that. But also our mindset has had to change to catch up with it. And I just wanted you guys to see that it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter who you are. There are going to be people in your life that are worried that this isn't going to work for you, and that might vocally tell you that. And it's how you handle it. Like, are you able to sit down with that person and say, I would really appreciate it if you just supported me on this, even though you don't believe it, and I know you're doing it for me because you love me, but could you support me on it for a few months so that I can just get going with it?
I think, I don't know if any of you read the email that I sent out last week to Lisa's list, but that was a big part of the topic, is especially men, and I know it's a different world, and I know flipping it, there's enough same-sex relationships, so the man thing is kind of obsolete a lot of the time, but men often feel like they still have this onus on them to be the breadwinner. And a lot of men still feel like that, and that's why that support thing is massive. Even though you may feel, I don't know, the slight itching of sort of worry or of insecurity, you need to be the support there. You really do. And if you bring to that support an element of show me the facts, show me how much money you're going to make, show me how it works, show me what other people have made before, then that's great. That's still support.
Yeah. Because
that's backing up, the feeling with actual stuff. And you wouldn't go and buy a new car without checking out other cars. It makes perfect sense. So I do think that support piece, especially at the beginning of a commitment or a change in direction or whatever it may be, is absolutely massive. We're not fortunate because we didn't get together by luck. It was because we were well matched. But we discuss everything. And we sort of rarely argue. We discuss stuff through, and that's not to say we always agree.
And sometimes with investments for my business, Sam's been right to tell me not to. So there have been a couple of times when Sam has gone, like a particular coach that I used, Sam said, I met her and I really don't think that you should use her. I don't think she has your best interest at heart. And I was like, what do you know? I'm going to use her anyway. And I didn't trust his judgment, and he was completely right. So that's happened a couple of times now. So, I'd be open to listening to your partner and what they have to say if there's reasons for it.
There was a question about mindset.
I saw that. What have or do you do to work on your mindset? So much stuff. So much. As a start listening to Fran Excel's podcast. Fran Excel, I've just done an intro to her in here. I do stuff every day to work on my money mindset, like affirmations and evidence-based work. I've worked with trauma coaches to make sure there's nothing stopping me from my childhood. I've journaled. I do many, many things to work on my mindset because I think it is such a big thing. Yeah, this is my absolute goal right here. My husband has supported us both for long enough. I want him to be able to take it easy. Yeah, that's great. I get the doubts from my parents. They worry I won't be able to pay my mortgage without a salary. And do you know what? I get the parents thing, because we live in a very different world now to... My dad thinks I play on the internet for money. Like, we live in a very different world to how they did things. And it doesn't seem viable to them that you can make money sort of just from being on the internet, you know, and just from using the knowledge you've got. But we can these days, and it's really, really interesting. Lauren says, my husband has been really supportive. When I did one-to-many, I talked about it with him. We share our money, so it was only right that it's a joint decision. Absolutely. And he asked a few questions which helped me also feel reassured in the decision. Never regretted it once, and he's encouraged me to join GSD and go on your retreat last year, having seen what a difference you've made to me and my business and our income.
That's brilliant. That's exactly what I was just saying. That's the perfect example of that.
If it's income, once you start making income from it, very often your partner will then go, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, that's, you mentioned Dan earlier, who I love, Dan. He's possibly the grumpiest man I've ever met. And I say that with a lot of affection for him, but he is. And to see him won over is, I mean, this is beyond. If you know Dan at all, I wish I could explain it probably to you. To see him won over is just beyond belief. So there's not anywhere in the world a greater recommendation, commendation, testimonial than that.
Someone said they like your T-shirt. So Sam's T-shirt is his Frank Turner T-shirt.
It says not dead yet on it.
One of the things that passive income and earning this money allowed me to do was on Sam's 50th, which was last year.
Year and a half ago.
I was able to, as a surprise at Sam's birthday, hire Frank Turner to come and play some songs. It was crazy, but it was really good fun. And this is what it's about. It's about being able to not only do things for you, but for your family, for the people that have supported you throughout the whole thing. That's all what it's about. What was the name of the podcast again? It's called the Positive Pants Podcast. And it's Fran Excel. Fran is the mindset coach in One-to-Many. So she'll help with any gremlin type stuff if you're coming into One-to-Many, because, you know, we all get them from time to time. I still get them from time to time. This isn't something that just disappears. Like, everyone has this. And one thing I will say, whether you come into One-to-Many or you decide one day to do another course or whatever, if any coach ever says to you, when you say, I've got to talk it over with my husband, if a coach ever says to you, like they said to me, if you have to talk about it to your husband, then that means that you're not a real business person. Please don't buy anything from them, ever. I've seen so many coaches say that now, but for some people, we're a team. Like, of course I'm going to discuss what money I'm going to spend out of our household budget on my business. Of course I'm going to talk to my husband about that. And I think it's really bad that this has become a new way of getting people to pay for things, is to guilt them into thinking they're not a real business person if they need to discuss it with their other half. It's absolutely okay to discuss it. One-to-Many has mindset reset sessions as well. Yes, it has mindset sessions. The very first set, the pre-work, before I even let you into One-to-Many, is you have to do some money mindset work that I put in there. Okay. There's Fran's podcast. Carla's put it in there, which is amazing. I'm going to leave that with you. I hope that's helped a little bit to reassure you that it isn't just your partner. It isn't just your husband. And it doesn't mean they don't believe in you. It means they love you and they're worried about you. And that's not a bad thing. And you can do certain things to put their mind at rest that like show them testimonials or bring them on to this group and show the kind of ideas people are having. And there's lots of people in this group that have already done One-to-Many and that are in here saying how much money they've already made from it. So these are actual people that they can speak to in here. And I'm very lucky to have a client base that loves shouting about me and about the program, who, you know, if anyone ever wants to talk to anyone, they're all in here.
I would just add as well that I am, as a bloke of a certain age, I'm not like a real woke kind of on it kid. Do you like the way I put that in?
Do you know what woke means?
Yeah, sort of. I'll tell you later. But I guess it's just, I am an example of what can happen when it's done the right way. And by the right way, I mean Lisa in the way she went about it, but also if I pat myself on the back a little bit about me going about it the right way. Once I got over my initial fears and consternation about what she was doing, kind of understanding the plan. So I would just take me as an example. I'm a pretty bog standard kind of bloke, and you know, I've learnt so much over the last 4 or 5 years as well. So don't be afraid to discuss it. And if any of you got partners or anything that want to ask any questions that I can help with, I'm happy to chip in with anything I can.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're here for you guys. That's what we're doing this for. Cool. I will let you go.